The wooden gavel hangs in the air like a guillotine blade. Justice Raymond Adebayo's arm is raised high, his face carved from stone, his eyes heavy with the weight of what comes next. The courtroom is packed. Journalists with cameras ready, citizens pressed shoulder to shoulder, security officers lining the walls like sentinels. In the defendant's dock stands Amara Okonkwo, 24 years old, daughter of Minister Felix Okonkwo, the most powerful man in transportation, the man who controls every road, every bridge, every government contract in Lagos State. But power cannot save her now. Her hands grip the wooden rail so tightly her knuckles have turned white. Her black dress is elegant, her head wrap perfectly tied, but her face tells the story of 90 days in hell. Dark circles ring her eyes. Her lips tremble. Tears she can no longer hold back stream down her cheeks. The charge, murder in the first degree. The victim, David Mensah, a 32-year-old accountant, father of 2, husband to Grace, stabbed 17 times in his own home. His blood found on Amara's clothes, her fingerprints on the knife, her car seen fleeing the scene. The prosecutor, Chief Barrister Amina Bello, stands like a warrior queen. Her voice cuts through the heavy air. Your Honor, the evidence is overwhelming. This woman, despite her privilege, despite her father's influence, cannot escape justice. The people demand accountability. We ask for the maximum sentence, life imprisonment without parole. The gallery erupts in murmurs. Some nod in agreement. Others whisper prayers. Minister Okonkwo sits in the front row, his face unreadable, his expensive suit pristine, his gold watch catching the fluorescent light. Beside him, his wife, Lady Blessing, clutches a Bible, her lips moving in silent prayer, tears rolling down her powdered cheeks. Amara's lawyer, Barrister Chris Okafor, rises one last time. His voice is weary, defeated. My lord, my client maintains her innocence, but I have presented all available evidence. I rest my case. He sits down heavily, shoulders slumped. Even he has lost hope. Justice Adebayo nods slowly. Amara Okonkwo, please rise. Amara stands on trembling legs. Her whole body shakes. This is it. This is the end. You have been found guilty by this court of boom. The courtroom doors explode open with such force they slam against the walls. Every head whips around. Cameras flash. Security officers reach for their weapons. A man stumbles through the entrance, thin, wild-eyed, wearing a faded yellow shirt and torn brown trousers held up by a fraying rope belt. His hair is a tangled mess, his beard overgrown and dusty. His feet are wrapped in old tire rubber tied with string. He looks like he hasn't slept in days, hasn't eaten in longer, but in his shaking hands, held high above his head like a sacred offering, is an old smartphone wrapped in layers of clear tape. Its screen cracked in a spiderweb pattern. Stop this trial, he shouts, his voice cracking with desperation and conviction. That girl is innocent. I saw everything. Silence crashes down like a wave, then chaos erupts. Reporters leap to their feet. Spectators gasp and shout. Security officers rush toward the intruder. Justice Adebayo slams his gavel. Bang, bang, bang. Order! Order in this court. Amara's hands fly to her mouth. Her eyes, wide with shock, lock onto the stranger. Who is he? Minister Okonkwo's face, for the first time in months, shows emotion, raw panic flashing across his features before he forces it back down. The man staggers forward, 2 security officers grabbing his arms. But he doesn't resist. He simply holds the phone higher, his voice rising above the chaos. My lord, my name is Chidi Nwankwo. I am a taxi driver. On the night David Mensah was murdered, I was parked outside his house waiting for a customer. My Dashcam, he shakes the phone, recorded everything. That girl didn't kill anyone. I have proof. Justice Adebayo rises to his full height, his voice thundering. This court will be silent. The room falls quiet except for the sound of labored breathing, Chidi's chest heaving, Amara's soft sobs, the collective held breath of 300 people. The judge studies Chidi for a long moment. His eyes narrow, searching the man's face for deception, for madness, for truth. Young man, Justice Adebayo says slowly, do you understand that interrupting a federal court proceeding is a criminal offense? Yes, my lord, Chidi replies, his voice steadier now. But letting an innocent woman die for a crime she didn't commit, that's a greater crime. A murmur ripples through the gallery. Justice Adebayo raises his hand for silence. What evidence do you claim to possess? Chidi's fingers tremble as he holds up the battered phone. Video footage, my lord, clear, unedited. The real killers, their faces, everything. The judge's jaw tightens. He looks at the prosecutor, at the defense attorney, at Amara's tear-streaked face, then back at Chidi. Security, he says, do not remove this man. Bring him forward. The sun rose over Lagos like a wound opening in the sky, red and angry, casting long shadows across the sleeping city. In Ajagunle, in a half-collapsed building where homeless men and women found shelter from the rain, Chidi Nwankwo woke to the sound of rats scurrying across the concrete floor. He sat up slowly, his back aching from sleeping on cardboard, his stomach hollow from hunger. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the phone, his last possession of value, the only thing he refused to sell even when hunger became unbearable. Today was the day. He'd been following the trial for 3 months, reading discarded newspapers, watching through shop windows when they played the news. And today the verdict would come. He thought about staying away. He thought about letting fate take its course, letting the powerful do what they always did, crush the weak and move on. But then he remembered the night. That terrible night. And he knew he couldn't stay silent, not again. Chidi's yellow taxi idled on a quiet street in one of Lagos's wealthiest neighborhoods. His customer, a banker who'd had too much to drink at a corporate party, was inside a house saying goodbye to his mistress. Chidi waited, windows down, the night air thick with the smell of jasmine and money. His Dashcam, a cheap Chinese model he'd bought after being falsely accused by a passenger, recorded everything. The timestamp blinked in the corner. 23:47:16. He checked his phone, calculating his earnings for the day. Barely enough for fuel and food. His daughter Chioma was sick again, the cough that wouldn't go away, and the free clinic had no medicine. He needed at least 5,000 naira for the private pharmacy. A car pulled up 3 houses down, a black Range Rover, tinted windows, expensive rims gleaming under the streetlight. Chidi glanced at it, then away. Rich people and their business, none of his concern. But then the doors opened. 3 men stepped out. They moved wrong, too fast, too focused, checking their surroundings like soldiers entering enemy territory. 2 of them wore dark hoodies despite the heat. The third, the driver, was older, his face partially visible in the streetlight. Chidi's instincts screamed danger. His hand hovered over his phone, ready to drive away if needed. The men walked up to the gate of house number 47. One of them pulled out a phone, made a call, spoke briefly. Seconds later, the gate clicked open from the inside. They know someone in there, Chidi thought. Probably security. The men disappeared inside. Chidi should have left, should have minded his business. But something kept him watching. His Dashcam kept recording. 5 minutes passed, then screaming. A woman's voice, high and terrified, piercing the night. "No, please, David!" Chidi sat up straight, his heart pounding, more screaming. A man's voice, deep and desperate. "Get out! I'm calling the police!" Then silence, a different kind of silence, the kind that feels like death. Chidi's hands shook on the steering wheel. He grabbed his phone, started to dial the police, but then the front door burst open. The 3 men ran out, moving fast now, no longer careful. One of them was wiping his hands on his hoodie, dark stains glistening wet in the streetlight. Blood. The driver turned his face toward the street for just a moment, scanning for witnesses. The streetlight caught his features perfectly. Hard, eyes, a tribal mark on his left cheek, a scar cutting through his eyebrow. Chidi slid down in his seat, praying they didn't see him. The Range Rover's engine roared to life. It sped away, tires screeching. Chidi sat frozen, his whole body trembling. His Dashcam had captured everything. The car, the license plate, the faces. "Call the police," his mind screamed. "Do something." But then another car appeared, a white Mercedes-Benz driven erratically, swerving. It skidded to a stop in front of house 47. A young woman jumped out, beautiful even in her panic, wearing an expensive dress and heels. She ran to the gate, which was still partially open, and disappeared inside. Seconds later, her screams joined the night. "David! Oh God! David! No, no, no!" Then sirens. Police cars appearing from nowhere, as if they'd been waiting. Officers swarming the house. More cars arrived, official vehicles, flashing lights. And then the woman being dragged out in handcuffs, blood on her dress, her face twisted in grief and shock. "I didn't do it," she screamed. "I found him like this. Please, I didn't." "Save it for the judge," an officer barked, shoving her into a police car. Chidi watched it all from his taxi, his phone clutched in his hand, the video saved, the truth captured in pixels and light. His customer stumbled out of the house then, oblivious to the chaos down the street, reeking of perfume and alcohol. "Driver, let's go. Home." Chidi drove away in silence, his mind screaming. He knew what he'd seen. He knew the girl was innocent. He knew who the real killers were. But he also knew what happened to people like him. Poor people, taxi drivers, nobodies, when they tried to speak truth to power. They disappeared. Chidi sat in his taxi outside a police station in Surulere, the video file copied onto 3 different memory cards, his hands sweating, his heart pounding. "Do it," he told himself. "Just go inside and tell them." He'd been parked there for an hour. Finally, he forced himself out of the car and walked into the station. The officer at the desk barely looked up. "Yes, I have information about the David Mensah murder case." Now the officer looked up, eyes narrowing. "What kind of information?" "Video evidence. From my Dashcam. I saw the real killers." The officer's expression changed, from boredom to alarm to something else, something that looked like fear. "Wait here," he said, and disappeared into a back office. 20 minutes passed. Then an hour. Finally, a senior officer emerged. Superintendent Adeyemi, tall and imposing, with cold eyes and a tight smile. "You have evidence about the Mensah case?" he asked, his voice too friendly. "Yes, sir. I was there that night. My camera recorded everything." "Show me." Chidi pulled out his phone, hands shaking, and played the video. The superintendent watched in silence, his face unreadable. When it ended, he looked at Chidi for a long moment. "This is very interesting," he said slowly. "Leave this phone with us. We'll need to verify the footage, check for tampering. What's your name and address?" Warning bells rang in Chidi's head. I can't leave my phone, sir." "It's my livelihood. But I have copies. You need to leave the phone," Superintendent Adeyemi said, his voice harder now. "This is evidence in a capital case. We need the original device." Chidi's throat went dry. "Sir, respectfully, I need my phone for work. Let me send you the file, Mr. Nwankwo." The superintendent's smile disappeared. "Do you understand who is involved in this case?" "Do you know whose daughter is in custody?" "Minister Okonkwo's daughter, sir." "But that's why—" "Exactly." Adeyemi leaned forward. "Now I'm going to give you some advice, driver to man. Go home. Delete that video. Forget what you saw. Minister Okonkwo is— Let's just say he's not the kind of man whose affairs you want to interfere with." Chidi stared at him. "But that girl is innocent. That's for the courts to decide. Not for taxi drivers. Sir, if I have evidence, you have nothing." Adeyemi's voice turned cold as ice. "That video never existed. You were never here. If you know what's good for you for your daughter, you'll understand that." Chidi's blood turned to ice. "My daughter? How do you know about—" "I know everything I need to know," Adeyemi stood. "Now get out of my station. And remember, some truths are more dangerous than lies. Choose wisely." Chidi left the station on shaking legs. He drove around Lagos for hours, his mind spinning. They knew about Kioma. They knew where he lived. If he pushed this, his daughter would pay the price. He thought about giving up, about letting the powerful do what they always did. But that night, Kioma coughed until she vomited blood. Chidi rushed her to the hospital, but they turned him away. No money, no treatment. She died in his arms 3 days later, her small body racked with fever. Her last words, "Papa, I'm cold." At her funeral, a pauper's burial in a crowded cemetery, Chidi made a choice. "They took everything from me. They can't take my conscience too." He kept the video, he waited. He watched, and when he heard the verdict was coming, he knew it was time. The courtroom crackles with tension as Chidi stands in the witness box, his hand on the Bible, swearing to tell the truth. "State your full name for the record," the court registrar says. "Chidi Emmanuel Nwankwo. Occupation, taxi driver. And you claim to have witnessed the events of the night in question?" "Yes, I was parked on Bourdillon Road, Ikoyi, waiting for a customer. My Dashcam was recording." Justice Adebayo leans forward. "Mr. Nwankwo, Do you understand the severity of what you're claiming? False testimony in a capital case carries serious consequences. I understand, my lord. But the greater consequence is watching an innocent woman die for a crime she didn't commit. A murmur runs through the crowd. Chief Barrister Bello rises, her voice sharp. My lord, this is highly irregular. This man appears out of nowhere with supposed evidence, just as the verdict is about to be delivered. This reeks of a desperate attempt to manipulate justice. Or, Barrister Okonkwo counters, jumping to his feet, it's a last-minute revelation of the truth. My lord, we must examine this evidence. Justice Adebayo raises his hand. We will, but first, he looks at Chidi. Why did you wait until now? Why not come forward 3 months ago? Chidi's jaw clenches. His eyes fill with tears. I tried, my lord. I went to Surulere police station 2 weeks after the murder. I showed the video to Superintendent Adeyemi. He threatened me, told me to delete it, to forget what I saw. He knew about my daughter, knew where I lived. His voice breaks. I was afraid. So I stayed silent. And while I stayed silent, my daughter died because I couldn't afford her medicine. The courtroom goes deadly quiet. She was 7 years old, my lord. Her name was Kioma. And in her last hours, she told me to always do the right thing, even when it's hard. Tears stream down his face. So I'm here. I have nothing left to lose. Nothing except my conscience. Women in the gallery dab their eyes. Even hardened journalists blink away tears. Justice Adebayo's voice is softer now. I'm sorry for your loss, Mr. Nwankwo. Let's see this evidence. The court IT officer connects Chidi's phone to the display system. The crowd leans forward as one. The screen flickers to life. The timestamp reads 23:47:16. 3 months ago, the video plays. A quiet street. Streetlights casting pools of yellow light. Palm trees swaying gently. A peaceful night in a wealthy neighborhood. Then the Range Rover appears. 3 men exit. The camera angle is perfect, catching their movements, their body language, their faces. One face in particular, the driver. The streetlight illuminates his features, tribal marks, a scar through his eyebrow, cold eyes scanning the street. Someone in the gallery gasps. I know that face. The men enter the compound. 5 minutes pass in fast forward. Then they run out. One is wiping his hands. Dark stains glisten. The Range Rover speeds away. License plate clearly visible. Lagos KSF 847GH. Then Amara's Mercedes appears. She runs inside. Her screams echo through the courtroom speakers. Raw, agonized, real. The police arrive. Amara is dragged out. Blood on her dress. Horror on her face. The video ends. Silence complete. Suffocating silence. Justice Adebayo removes his glasses. Wipes them slowly, puts them back on. Registrar, he says quietly. That man's face, the driver of the Range Rover. Run it through the database. Minutes crawl by like hours. The registrar returns, his face pale. He hands the judge a printout. Justice Adebayo reads it. His expression hardens. The man in this video, he says, his voice cutting through the silence like a blade, is Tunde Bakare, former military officer, currently employed as head of security for... He pauses, his eyes moving to the front row. Fires Minister Felix Okonkwo. The courtroom explodes. Minister Okonkwo rises slowly, his face a mask of controlled fury. My lord, this is a fabrication. A desperate, pathetic attempt to... Sit down, Justice Adebayo thunders, his voice shaking the walls. You will speak when this court permits you to speak. The minister sits, but his eyes burn with rage. Chief Barrister Bello scrambles to her feet. My lord, we need to verify this video's authenticity. In this age of technology, videos can be manipulated, deep-faked. This could be a sophisticated fraud designed to... Or, Barrister Okafor interrupts, it could be the truth you've been trying to bury for 3 months. Enough! Justice Adebayo slams his gavel. This court will reconvene tomorrow at 9 a.m. In the meantime, I am ordering the immediate arrest of Tunde Bakare. I want him found and brought to this court. Registrar, get forensic experts to examine that video. I want to know if it's genuine. This trial is not over. He stands and everyone scrambles to their feet. Court adjourned. Bang. As the judge exits, pandemonium erupts. Reporters swarm Chidi. Cameras flash. Questions fly like bullets. Amara collapses in the dock, sobbing with something that might be hope. Minister Okonkwo storms out, his security team surrounding him. his face twisted with barely contained rage, and Chidi stands in the center of it all, exhausted, terrified, but knowing he did the right thing. Chidi doesn't go back to his shelter in Ajagunla. He knows better. Instead, he goes to a church, Holy Trinity Catholic Church in Ebute Metta, and asks the priest for sanctuary. Father Cyprian, an old Igbo man with kind eyes and a gentle smile, listens to his story and immediately takes him in. "You are safe here, my son," the priest says. "The Lord protects those who speak truth." Chidi wishes he could believe that, but he knows how the world really works. Sure enough, at 2 a.m. his phone buzzes. An unknown number. He almost doesn't answer, but he does. "Mr. Nwankwo," a smooth, cultured voice says. "My name is Chief Kolawole. I'm an attorney representing certain interests that would like to resolve this matter amicably. I have nothing to say to you, not even for 20 million naira." Chidi's breath catches. 20 million? Enough to change his life forever. Enough to... No, he says firmly. "I can't be bought. Everyone can be bought, Mr. Nwankwo. It's just a matter of price. 30 million? No, a pause. Then the voice turns cold. "Then you're a fool. A dead fool." The line goes dead. Father Cyprian sees Chidi's pale face. "They threatened you?" "Yes, Father. Then we pray. And we trust in God's justice. They pray until sunrise." The courtroom is even more packed than before. Security has been tripled. Metal detectors at every entrance. Police with rifles standing guard. Amara sits in the dock, her eyes red from crying, but filled with a fragile hope she didn't dare feel yesterday. Minister Okonkwo is conspicuously absent. "Business in Abuja," his lawyers claim. Justice Adebayo enters, and the room falls silent. "We have the forensic results," he announces. 3 independent experts have examined the video footage provided by Mr. Nwankwo. Their conclusion is unanimous. He pauses. The video is authentic. No signs of manipulation, deepfaking, or tampering. The timestamp matches cell tower data from that night. The location data is accurate. The faces are real. The gallery erupts in cheers and gasps. Furthermore, the judge continues, the vehicle registration number visible in the footage, Lagos KSF 847GH, is registered to a private security company owned by. He looks directly at the empty seat where the minister should be. Minister Felix Okonkwo. More gasps. "However, we have encountered a problem. Tunde Bakare, the man identified in the video, has not been found. His apartment in Surulere is empty. His phone is off. He has vanished." Chief Barrister Bello stands quickly. "My lord, this only proves the unreliability of this entire situation. If this man is truly guilty, why would he flee? It's more likely he never existed in connection to this case. And the video is real, Counselor. We have established that. But without the actual suspect, without corroboration, it's merely circumstantial." Justice Adebayo's eyes narrow. "Perhaps, but it's enough to warrant a full reinvestigation. This trial cannot continue until..." The doors burst open again. This time police officers stream in, surrounding a man in handcuffs, Tunde Bakare. He looks terrible, face bruised, shirt torn, eyes wild with fear. Behind them walks a woman in a sharp grey suit, Inspector General of Police, Mrs. Zainab Yusuf. She strides to the judge's bench with military precision. "My lord," she says, her voice carrying authority, "we found Mr. Bakare attempting to board a boat to Benin Republic. He has agreed to cooperate fully." The courtroom holds its breath. Justice Adebayo looks at Tunde. "Mr. Bakare, you are under oath. Did you kill David Mensah?" Tunde's shoulders slump. He looks at the floor. "Yes," he whispers. The word echoes like thunder. "Louder," the judge commands. "Yes," Tunde shouts, tears streaming down his face. "Yes, I killed him, but I was just following orders." "Whose orders?" Tunde looks at the front row, at the empty seat, at the lawyers scrambling. "Minister Felix Okonkwo's orders." Pandemonium. Over the next 3 hours, Tunde Bakare's testimony unravels the entire conspiracy. David Mensah, the victim, was an accountant working for the Ministry of Transportation. He had discovered massive corruption, hundreds of millions of naira embezzled through fake road construction contracts. He planned to blow the whistle. Minister Okonkwo couldn't allow that, so he ordered Tunde to eliminate the threat, make it look like a crime of passion. "Frame someone, but why Amara?" Justice Adebayo asks. "Why frame your own daughter?" Tunde hesitates, then speaks. He said she'd be fine, that his lawyers would get her off eventually, that it was better she face a trial than have the scandal touch him directly. He said, Tunde's voice breaks, he said his career was more important than one person's freedom, even his own daughter's. Lady Blessing, the minister's wife, stands up screaming, "Liar! My husband would never," but her voice dies when she sees the evidence presented next. Bank transfers, phone records, text messages, all showing Minister Okonkwo orchestrating everything. The final piece, Amara's Mercedes had been tampered with. They'd rubbed David's blood on her dress while she was in shock. Having arrived minutes after the murder to return a document David had asked for, she'd walked into a trap perfectly laid. "My lord," Tunde says quietly, "I'm guilty. I killed David Mensah. But I didn't act alone. There were two others with me that night, Collins Ease and Ahmed Musa, both on the minister's payroll. We were promised 20 million naira each and protection. And where are they now? Ahmed is dead. Car accident last month, but it wasn't an accident. The minister had him killed to tie up loose ends. Collins is in hiding. Within hours, Collins is found and arrested. His testimony matches Tunde's perfectly. Over the next 3 hours, Tunde Bakare's testimony unravels the entire conspiracy. David Mensah, the victim, was an accountant working for the Ministry of Transportation. He had discovered massive corruption, hundreds of millions of naira embezzled through fake road construction contracts. He planned to blow the whistle. Minister Okonkwo couldn't allow that, so he ordered Tunde to eliminate the threat, make it look like a crime of passion. Frame someone, but why Amara? Justice Adebayo asks. Why frame your own daughter? Tunde hesitates, then speaks. He said she'd be fine, that his lawyers would get her off eventually, that it was better she face a trial than have the scandal touch him directly. He said, Tunde's voice breaks, he said his career was more important than one person's freedom, even his own daughter's. Lady Blessing, the minister's wife, stands up screaming, "Liar! My husband would never," but her voice dies when she sees the evidence presented next. Bank transfers, phone records, text messages, all showing Minister Okonkwo orchestrating everything. The final piece, Amara's Mercedes had been tampered with. They'd rubbed David's blood on her dress while she was in shock. Having arrived minutes after the murder to return a document David had asked for, she'd walked into a trap perfectly laid. "My lord," Tunde says quietly, "I'm guilty. I killed David Mensah. But I didn't act alone. There were two others with me that night, Collins Ease and Ahmed Musa, both on the minister's payroll. We were promised 20 million naira each and protection. And where are they now? Ahmed is dead. Car accident last month, but it wasn't an accident. The minister had him killed to tie up loose ends. Collins is in hiding. Within hours, Collins is found and arrested. His testimony matches Tunde's perfectly. The following day, Minister Felix Okonkwo is brought to court in handcuffs. The mighty man who once controlled billions, who walked with presidents and kings, now shuffles in prison orange, his head bowed, his empire in ruins. His wife has filed for divorce. His political party has expelled him. His business associates have all distanced themselves. He stands before Justice Adebayo, and for the first time he looks small. Felix Okonkwo, the judge, says, "You are charged with conspiracy to commit murder, obstruction of justice, corruption, and the attempted murder of your own daughter through legal persecution. How do you plead?" Silence answer the court. The minister's voice is barely a whisper. Guilty. 1 week later, the courtroom is packed again, but this time the atmosphere is different. This time there's a sense of rightness in the air. Amara sits not in the defendant's dock but in the gallery, free. She wears a simple white dress. Her mother sits beside her, holding her hand tightly. Justice Adebayo reads the verdicts. Tunde Bakare and Collins Ease, guilty of murder in the first degree. Sentenced to death by hanging. Minister Felix Okonkwo, guilty of conspiracy to commit murder and corruption. Sentenced to life imprisonment without possibility of parole. All assets to be seized and used to compensate the Mensah family. Amara Okonkwo. All charges dropped innocent. This court apologizes for the injustice you have suffered. The gavel falls. Bang, bang, bang. Amara collapses into her mother's arms, sobbing, not from grief this time, but from relief so profound it feels like being born again. The sun sets over Lagos. painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson. Outside a newly renovated building in Yaba, a sign reads, Kioma's Place, Free Medical Clinic. Inside, Chidi Nwankwo wears clean clothes and a genuine smile as he cuts the ribbon. Beside him stands Amara, her eyes bright with purpose. She has taken the compensation money from her father's seized assets and partnered with Chidi to build this clinic, free healthcare for the poor, funded in perpetuity, named after the little girl whose death sparked a revolution, David Mensah's widow. Grace is there too, her children beside her. She shakes Chidi's hand. "Thank you," she whispers. "Thank you for giving my husband's death meaning." That night, Chidi stands alone at Chioma's grave. The headstone is new now, white marble with her picture engraved. Her smile, her bright eyes, her spirit forever captured in stone. "I did it, my angel," he whispers. "I did the right thing, even though it was hard. Even though I was afraid, just like you told me." The wind rustles through the trees, and Chidi chooses to believe it's her voice, saying, "I'm proud of you, Papa." He wipes his tears and walks away, into the sunset, into a future that finally feels like it might hold hope. Justice had finally spoken, not because the powerful chose mercy, not because the system worked perfectly, but because one man, a taxi driver with nothing to lose and everything to fear, chose truth over silence. If this story touched your heart, moved your spirit, or opened your eyes, don't let it end here. Hit that like button. Let the algorithm know that stories of truth and justice matter. Subscribe to Amazing Folktales. Join our community of truth seekers and story lovers. We bring you epic tales from across the world that inspire courage, challenge power, and celebrate the human spirit.